Good morning. So it is time to go out and do chores. So the other day we came out here and we actually moved Sophie and Amos to fresh ground. Now their shelter right there of course didn't move, but the pasture and grass and everything that they used to have access to went that way into the woods. But now that the weather has turned, they don't really need shade anymore, but they did need some fresh ground to graze on, and so we moved the fencing from going that way to coming this way, and gave them lots of fresh grass. And of course, when they've got fresh grass, them being donkeys, well, donkey and mule, they don't actually need a lot of rich food. And so we did not give them any hay for several days because they didn't need it. And to be honest, they probably don't need much of anything besides what they've got out there right now. But we like to keep them in a routine, and so in the mornings I always give them some hay pellets just so that they're accustomed to coming up there, because it makes it easier to put their halters on them and all of that. Like yesterday morning we had the farrier here, came out and gave them their pedicures and all that. So you can see out there it's kind of misty. We actually got an alert on our phones for ice fog this morning. It is cold. It is very cold, and that winter storm, you may have been hearing about it in the news, is supposed to roll in today, and tonight it's supposed to be single digits, which is incredibly cold for Alabama. My friend Anna is looking at negative temperatures. She's in southern Missouri. Yeah, it's going to be hitting, I think, a lot of the United States, this Arctic cold. So today on the agenda is some prep work. I'll be going to pick up some added straw just because when it's super cold, well, generally when winter rolls around we do this anyways, because when the weather turns cold in the wintertime, we give all of the animals extra bedding, because that straw is an insulator, and so we'll put some extra thick bedding in their shelter there, because they do actually bed down a lot of times when they're sleeping at night, and so giving them thick bedding to lay in will insulate their bodies. Same with the goats and with the chickens. Chickens, we don't really have to worry about insulating them. They have a really good coop. We do the deep bedding method in there, so the breakdown of manure and that thick layer of bedding actually generates heat. It's one of the benefits of doing the deep bedding method. And so we don't have to worry about them too much. And chickens are really, they all sit together on the roosts, and, it helps their bodies to keep warm. They allow their feathers to poof up, which creates insulation with those air pockets and everything. So, all right, so let's feed the animals and get chores done. Oh, and you may have noticed that the bucks aren't out here, and you can see I've got some fencing spread out here. When I moved these guys, I didn't quite need all of the fencing I had put out, and so I have this all stretched out and untangled, and I actually went and picked up a spool for electric cords, and I'm going to use that to roll up all this fencing so that I can use it again. You don't want this stuff to go to waste because it's not cheap. And so I will spool it up to use in the future. baby. Good morning. Sophie. Hi, baby girl. Are you still mad at us? Are you still mad at us for having the farrier out yesterday? Alright. Behave. So their water actually wasn't frozen. Didn't get that cold tonight. It just hovered just above the freezing temperature, so their water wasn't frozen. But we'll still bring some hot water out here because donkeys hate cold water. They would rather die of thirst than drink ice cold water. And so when the weather is super cold like this, we fill up a bucket with really hot water and we put it out here for them because yeah, they're a little picky when it comes to the water. And they're also a little moody today because, you know, the farrier was out here yesterday, and so they tend to hold a grudge for a day or so and not let us pet them. But by this evening, they'll be happy to see us. We'll bring them treats and all will be well again. This is not well, that's not gonna work, is it? I got one long strand on here and I've still got 3 more that are just as long, and I've already about filled this up. So it looks like I'm gonna have to probably go pick up another one of these or something. Alright, well, I got 3 on here, so one more of these spools should get the rest of all that out there. So when I go out running errands today, because today is Wednesday. It is errand day. I'll pick up another one of these. I'll go just like that. And we'll go just like that. So everything stays on. I mentioned, I think it was last week, that I was contemplating doing a video series, basically homec online, because I don't know, it's just something I've been thinking about for a while. And you know, I get so many questions and comments from people who find my channel because they're wanting to learn how to do something, especially when it comes to domestic things. For those of you who don't know the backstory of why I started doing YouTube and really why I started blogging, and in case you're new here and you don't know, I have been a blogger for over a decade. I have a website with hundreds of recipes, almost 800 of them. I've been doing this for a really long time, and what really got me into doing this, one of the main factors was being an Army wife and meeting people from all different places and all different backgrounds, and meeting people who did not know how to do basic things, things that I kind of took for granted. And when I launched my website, I started writing my recipes with those people in mind. There was one particular lady, I'll never forget her. Her husband was in a kind of unit that deployed a lot. He was gone all the time, and they had 2 little boys, and her husband did all the cooking. And she was telling me one day that she couldn't even make hamburger helper. And I asked her, I'm like, well, what do you do when your husband's deployed? Because he does all the cooking. And she said, we just go to McDonald's. That broke my heart. And so when I launched my website, not long after that, it's probably maybe 2 years later, I started blogging. I wrote my recipes in such a way that someone who did not know how to cook would be able to follow them. I try to be very thorough in the instructions and not use terminology that a novice cook may not know. And so that's how the vast majority of my recipes are written, because I want anyone to be able to follow them. I want anyone to be able to learn how to make these recipes and how to cook. Teaching is kind of my thing, and I've always done it in some fashion, whether it was homeschooling my kids or when we were still an Army family, I actually taught classes that were basically Army Life 101. I've always taught in some aspect, and so my website is basically just an extension of that. And people comment on my YouTube videos how I thoroughly explain things, for the most part, when I'm cooking, and that's just who I am. That's just the way I do things. And so doing a homec sort of series, I think, is just kind of a next step for that. And like I said, it's something that's been on my mind for a while, and I had a lot of great feedback about it, and so I'm gonna go ahead and do it. And I already have sat down and I have my planner that I use, and I've already begun outlining gobs of lessons, and so my goal is to have one homec style video each week, and we'll just see how that goes. I don't know how long I'm going to do it. Maybe just until I run out of ideas, I guess. But I had tons of ideas. I had lots of suggestions in the video where I brought that up, and I will continue to take suggestions, continue to take ideas. So feel free to leave them in the comments if there are tutorials or instructional things that you think you would want to see included in a home ec style series. My plan is to start those after the first of the year. That way, you know, people are really busy right now, lots going on, and I'm actually going to work on filming a few of them ahead of time. That way I can have them scheduled. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. The home ec series is a go. But anyways, I'm going to head into the house, grab another cup of coffee now that morning chores are done, and I'm going to get going with the day. I've got lots to do today. It's one of the days I don't have little Miss Willow, and so it is always a work day. And like I said, I've got to get straw. We've got to load up all the animals with their insulation and bedding, because tonight it is going to be wicked cold. So I'm going to get on it, and y'all have a great day. And hope you all stay warm. I am a little concerned that I've been seeing talks of there being power outages because of it. Yeah, at some point I'm going to get a wood-burning stove. I just don't like being reliant upon electricity for everything. But that's a whole nother conversation for another day. So that's it for this morning. Thanks for hanging out with me while I did chores and all of that. And like I said, I hope y'all stay warm. My name is Constance at A Good Life Farm, and I'll talk to y'all next time.